What's up, party people? Today I am fulfilling a request. This is going to be a skill guide for the half baggy. I got a message on Discord from Hendry here. Can anyone teach me what stats are good for half baggy and about the skill trees, please? I said I could try to put something together for you. On my build, I doubt it's the most optimal, but it works. So again, I'm stressing, not the most optimal build. I am not a half baggy master, but I'm willing to share what I have if it might be useful to someone. So let's just delve right into it. So half baggy. All right. First things first, for those of you, because I get a lot of people when I haven't made a guide in a long time on a class, but the number one thing I get, they're like, just give me the stats. So here you go. There are the skills, and you can pause it, and you can look, and then I will just quickly go through my stat allocation. Volition, Guitar, Fury, Transup, Meister, and then I don't have Grandmeister attributes or life. So if you are just plain interested in what I have, you can pause on those screens and just copy and paste it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into why I have what I have allocated and explain some of the skills, which I think would be far more useful because then you'll actually realize what the class does. So when you're playing the half baggy, there are two builds you can go with. You can go with a guitar build or you can go with a Felician build. Now, most half baggies are going to be using both of them anyway. But when it comes to selecting your Meister tree, you have this Venatoris, which is Guitar-based, and Extreme Raged, which is Felician-based, right? So this is a guitar build. This is focused on the guitar. In my opinion, it's the better of the two in general. I think the Felician has potential to be a better PvE option, but I really like the single target on the guitar, so that's why I have that. Stats, I always recommend, nowadays, I honestly recommend basically full damage just because you get so much HP from items, unless you're trying to buff up your HP for PvP or something. But, you know, average player, I don't think you need the HP. The main requirement just being your weapon requirement. So for me, I have a Helian Guitar equipped, so I just need 229 dex and then strength. So I've got my 229 dex, and then I have the rest of the strength, just trying to get the most damage out of it. Now, let's just go through the skills here. So I'm going to start with the guitar. So guitar. So we're going down our skill window list here. So number one is your uppercut, useless skill. Don't bother with it. Number 2 here is your mastery, 15. You want to max this. This is going to give you damage. Charge spin. This is a nice movement skill. It also does damage, so I recommend you'll have extra points, so I recommend maxing it out. But you can see here you charge into your enemy or wherever you're trying to go. I don't have the right control set up too, but you can also use it outside of combat to jump around, which is nice. So good skill. Charge strike, don't need. Power spin is just a really nice AoE attack. You're not gonna use this in PvP very much, but in PvE it's a very nice skill. So I definitely recommend updating it. Mortal blow you don't need. Vampire dance is your main healing ability. When you're attacking with this, it'll rapidly increase your HP. It's extremely strong in PvP and very good in PvE. It has a really short cooldown, and it makes the half baggy's survivability amazing. Up next, we have sneak attack. This you just basically you hit the enemy, and then it increases your critical rate. So you're just basically going to crit every time you use it. It's debatably good. I have it maxed on here, I guess. Frenzy Dance is a really strong single target ability. It also slows your enemy, really good in PvP. You can see there. Deadly Blow is really nice in PvP. It disables skills, and it also is nice because it has an AoE, so you can use it in PvE as well. And then Passionate Dance is just a very strong single target ability. Just lots of hits, lots of damage, very strong, etc. Okay. I also want to mention that the half baggy switches between using something called Fury and something called Mana. You guys are probably familiar with Mana. The Fury bar charges when you use non-Fury attacks, and there's also some abilities that do that as well. But we'll get to that when we get to the Fury tab. Up next, I'm going to talk about the Felician. If you're a guitar build, you're not going to use a lot of this. However, you are going to use the guitar a little bit. So guitar mastery, important. That's what increases your attack. Earth Divide is an extremely strong PvP ability. Basically what this does is it gives you a little buff, and when your enemies are attacking you, you reflect damage onto them. It's very, very strong in PvP. If you're doing any type of PvP, you gotta have this maxed out. Power Dash, another super important PvP ability. Basically what it does is it allows you to charge to your enemy, just like that. And in addition to charging to them, it also has the ability to slow them as well. Very, very strong. Highly recommended. It's just a very good ability. I max out Cyclone Sweep as well. I don't really use it, but this is just another ability that is really good in PvE. That's probably why I have it maxed out. My Qatar or my Felician weapon isn't very good on this account, so I don't really use it that much for that. But if I was to use it for PvE, I would have that ability maxed out. And then the last one I have maxed out is Burst Slash. Awesome PvE ability and extremely powerful PvP ability as well. It's a giant AoE stun. It's one thing that makes the half baggy so awesome in PvP. That entire AoE has the potential to stun your opponent, and it's just fantastic. Okay, so that's what I have for Qatar and Felician. Fury, this is also a very important window. Obviously, I don't even have this maxed out. Obviously, you want to max out your Helion blessings, so make sure you do that as you're leveling. Fury Mastery, you want to max out. It makes you more efficient. Fury Control is your movement buff, so that's right here, and it increases your movement speed, so very important ability. This allows you to pull more mobs. It's just a good passive ability. I recommend it. Or I guess it's not a passive, I'm sorry. It's an actually usable ability, but it allows you to pull more mobs, but there's buffs that are for that, so it's not super important. Self-injury is extremely important when it comes to buffing. Basically, you do damage to yourself and it creates anger. I'll show you how that works in a minute. Fury Shield, super important for PvP. It's also good in PvE. It increases your abnormal resistance so people can't stun you, sleep you, etc. It also is good in dungeons that put bleeds on you, etc. Very strong ability. Blow Fury, very good. Basically, it consumes some of your, what are they calling this? Anger. And then if you're familiar with the Bagi, you'd be familiar with this ability, and it just kind of pulsates and does AoE damage, just like this. Awesome ability, does a lot of damage. You don't really have to think about it too much. Highly recommend maxing out. Vital Drain is your damage reduction ability. I keep saying everything's really strong because it is really strong. But basically what this does is it gives you a shield that reduces damage. I can't remember exactly what damage it reduces. It says just protect 70% damage. I don't remember the exact breakdown of it. But yes, it significantly reduces damage that you take. Good in PvP, good in PvE. Now, the reason self-injury is important is because of these three abilities right here. You have your Berserker Step 1, 2, and 3. Berserker Step is what you need to have active all the time when you're fighting. It gives you a nice damage buff, critical buff, etc. So I'll give you an example here. So I don't have, my attack's kind of low right now, but I'll give you an example. So in order to use these, you have to have rage. You don't normally always have rage. So what you do is you hit self-injury, and you can see it's going to buff your rage up. And then what you can do is you can go Berserker Step 1, 2, and then 3. And now you're buffed up for, I believe, 10 minutes. Yep, and you can see it was a nice increase to my attack. And this is just overall very important. That is your main buff that you want to make sure you keep active all the time. Now, when this buff isn't active, in addition to this buff, I also recommend keeping Fury Shield up as much as possible. Sorry, I'm realizing that I'm skipping a tab too, so let's go to Trans really quick. Your Trans ability, obviously Trans you want to max out. Bone Crush, it's a good PvP ability. It causes stuns, and I think it also reduces defense. So very important. I like Lethal Cutter because you can use it with the Qatar, and it's an AoE ability, mostly good for PvE. I think it also reduces defense. Yep, so that could potentially be good in PvP as well. Fury Blast, this is a nice party buff. It's also a good buff for you. When you use it, it just increases everyone's damage by, I believe, 10%. So if you watch my damage here, I'm at 70k. Use this. Boop. Now I'm up to 73.7k. And it's a party buff, so it affects everyone in your party. Blood Defense is also nice. I don't have a ton of utility for it, to be honest with you. And you have to have your Trans active in order to use it. I can show you. But basically, you use it and it increases your all-res. I could see it being pretty strong against, like, like like magic classes or something like that. It's also just a good way to increase your resistance, just an overall survivability thing. And anger hallucination. I like this ability primarily because it's a good AoE. So again, you're going to go in, it's good AoE, and you can use it with the Qatar. And then your third ability here is my Trance 3 ability. Good ability, it's just great. You should just use it no matter what you're doing. Obviously, Meisters are super important. You're going to max these. There's no reason not to. You have them right here. Taurus Will, it's kind of a slow attack, but it's a single target followed by an AoE. Then you have Varisto. It's just a kind of a strong AoE, does a lot of attacks. And then last one, Proteum, or it's Frontium, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Proteum, is just a strong single target ability, lots of hits, good PvP. But obviously your Meisters you want to be using for everything. It's important. And you can see here too that the this ability to Proteum, it reduces the damage, or the defense, I think, or resistance as you use it, so your attack will increase. That's why if you use this and then you can start with 200k and then I'm hitting 400ks by the end, and you follow up with that, like because of the debuff that's on there, you're going to do a lot more damage. As you saw, I just hit 500k a minute with Varisto, but if we wait for that debuff to wear off, and then we use Varisto again, I'll be hitting much less. I'll show you that right now, just as a demonstration. Boom, you can see that's a difference of 250k damage, so got to think about stuff like that. Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of the overall walkthrough of the skills. Just some tips and tricks overall. This is my bar setup here. You can do it however you want. I basically have it set up with, these are the abilities that I'm going to primarily be using with the Qatar. When I'm doing any type of PvE, this is generally the rotation that I follow. So I go towards Will. Again, this probably isn't the most efficient, but I just don't really think about it. Frontium, and then Power Spin. If I'm killing a bunch of mobs, I would then skip to like Anger Hallucination, or Hallucination. Sorry, I can talk. Followed by like Lethal Cutter, just because of the AoE damage, and then by then you can go back and your other guys are on cooldown. If you're fighting a boss though and you're just doing single target, you can then jump into like Passionate Dance. Or Frenzy Dance, but most of the time anytime your Meisters are on cooldown or your Trance 3 is on cooldown, these are the abilities you should be doing because they're going to give you the most damage, right? And then again, like I said, PvP, if you're thinking about that, just super important abilities here are like your Power Dash into Burnt Slash, that way you can follow up with a stun. Making sure, again, that you always have Earth Divide active while you're PvPing as long as you can. Utilizing Fury Shield to, reduce status effects. Like if you're fighting a Signal and they're trying to sleep you, obviously that's going to be really important. But yeah, that's kind of what I have to say. I am going to say too, I am not an expert at this class. I play it because I think it's really fun. I haven't tried to optimize it in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, these are the things that you have to think about when you're upgrading your skills and your stats. It's a super fun class. The other thing that I want to tell you guys about that makes it so good is your this ability right here, your Strengthen, increases your attack speed. And if you combo this with other abilities that increase your basic attack speed, you can actually reach max attack speed without using boxing gloves. Because normally, if you use boxing gloves, which I may or may not have on this account, probably not. Because I usually use runes to max out the attack speed. Normally, when you use boxing gloves, you have some reduction to your attack. Half Bagi, no reduction to your attack, because you can max out the attack speed with a combination of Berserker Step and runes. So that's a really helpful and useful tip, which makes it really good at single target. I will say that I do think the Half Bagi is a little lackluster in AoE abilities in PvE, but overall it's pretty good. I've had a lot of fun with it. Haven't been really playing a ton of Dekaron recently, but like I said, I got the request for the guide and I thought I would throw something together really quick for you guys. Trying to think last minute things. I can show you my gear, but guys, my gear on this account is far from optimal. I'm not geared out at all. And people always ask me for gear setups for characters, and honestly, they're very similar for every character. I mean, yes, different characters with different buffs have different things that you need, but you're just trying to get really high attack and vitality, and if you're PvEing, you want high DDR and PvE resistance. If you're PvPing, you want DDR and PvP resistance. in addition to things like critical damage reduction and critical resistance and, you know, abnormal res. Like, it's kind of all the same stuff for each character, and just different classes require certain items to hit those requirements. But, you know, obviously you want like a nice, strong +10 weapon and, you know, some good wings. These are PvE wings, but, you know, and, you know, the perp's really important, and, you know, I have guides and stuff for that. Maybe one day I'll put together a gear guide in general for characters, but it varies a little bit between classes, but not a ton. Honestly, a lot of people are using very standard items when it comes to, you know, maxing out their class, making them good, along with like a good crest costume, etc. So like for PvE, for example, you just want like, I want vitality and I want all attack, right? Monster damage tolerance, etc. You know, this is just kind of basic stuff. Yeah, so there you go. There is my half baggy guide. I hope you guys found it useful. I know I also owe someone a updated Black Wizard guide. I will say, though, that my old guide from X amount of years ago is still fairly relevant. I mean, I can update it, but it's pretty much going to be the same. So just, you know, a couple changes here and there. Yeah. Any other questions about the half baggy? Leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. Again, not an expert. I have a lot of people who watch my videos that know way more about the class than me, I'm sure. So you guys can feel free to leave tips and tricks for the half baggy in the comments as well. You can also be like, hey, you know, you said to max out that skill. That's stupid. Don't do that. You know, you can mention that as well. Like I said, even with my build here, though, I still have 10 remaining skill points. So, you know, I'm probably not the most optimal. But this is my build. I hope it's useful. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.